for coming to another episode of Warlord TV. Out here in the war rig, some of you older viewers know what that means. It means I'm out in the oil fields doing the things so I can stack stock, stick to the plan, in the words of Prepper Now. Haven't heard from him in a while. But before we start this episode, let me give a shout out to John at Prepper Nation. Appreciate you mentioning me on the show. I had a great time down in Pigeon Forge. Glad you appreciated the training materials that I gave you for suturing and stuff like that. Also give a shout out to Dynamite and his wife and the other people that were down there. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. Now, one thing I did mention when I was down there last Saturday, a bunch of us, John at Prepper Nation, Dynamite, the people that run Back to the Woods, we were sitting there just, in between a bunch of people coming. We were talking about where we saw things going in the future. And I hate to say it, but, well, as usual, I was correct. You see, I told John, those guys that were down there, I said, last Saturday, they said, Rob, where do you see things going? I said, well, before hell breaks loose, before society actually collapses, things like that, before any of the real SHTF shit, the grand scale shit, because some would say we are currently in SHTF, just like watching a train wreck in slow motion. I said, first, you will see political assassinations. I said, you'll see mayors, judges, governors, councilmen, senators, things like this start to have assassination attempts or start to be assassinated. That is when society, as you know it, is starting to reach a tipping point. Now, see, what a lot of people fail to think about, and in case you haven't been following the news, yesterday, Wednesday, someone literally went from California all the way to Brett Kavanaugh's home, Supreme Court Justice, in an attempt to assassinate him. Okay? So I was calling that these things were going to happen last Saturday. I said, this is going to happen. It's happening. Why? Well, because when you feel, regardless of what side you're on, now this guy was far left apparently, but when you feel that your government is failing you in one way, shape, or form, regardless of what side you're on, it's known throughout history the fastest way to change the course of a nation is assassination. It is. That's the fastest way to change the course of a nation. Now, I'm not advocating for that, but I'm saying that is what I knew was coming because I know how people are reaching breaking points on both sides. All right? So, and some people might not understand how a simple assassination can change the course of a nation drastically. Well, think about this. Had that man been successful, had yesterday he had actually assassinated the Supreme Court Justice he was going for, Brett Kavanaugh, what would that mean? That would mean a dramatic shift in the power base of the left, because currently, Biden is sitting at the White House. That vacancy, that would be a vacancy at the Supreme Court level, would have to be filled. And I'm willing to bet that it would probably be filled by someone more liberal, left-leaning, just because of the administration. Okay? So right there, you shifted the court from right to left, like that. Now, if something like that happened, by proxy, you're going to see some people from the other side come out. And if not just take out one, take out two. Because that is how the scenarios start to unfold. They take one of yours, you take one of theirs. They take one of yours, you take two of theirs to offset. To not only bring it back into balance the way it was, but to make sure your side is winning. You can, by taking out a handful of people, you can dramatically shift the entire course of a nation if they're key people in key roles. It's just like small towns or even cities. In the city I'm staying in currently, there are about 12 people that actually run the government of the entire city and the counties around it. 12. You take out 2 or 3 key players, you've shifted the trajectory of the government. All right, by creating vacancies, you get new people in that are more towards your side. You have more theirs, or they have more theirs, whichever way it may be. But you can drastically alter the course of governments by assassination. And I mean, it's not like this is something brand new. These types of things have been going on for millennia, since you go back to the default of society. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. The default setting for society, the factory reset. Now, that's not to be confused with the Great Reset, all right? Factory default settings. You know, when you want to reset your phone, you hit factory default, and it'll take it all back to the way it originally was from the factory, before you added all the nice apps and the screensavers and the wallpapers and the cool ringtones and all that. Factory default. Well, society has a factory default, and the default is warlordism. Yes, that's an actual word, warlordism. You can look it up. It is primarily what happens to all failed states throughout history and still currently today. You look at places in Africa, South America, places like that, and you can see, especially in South America, you can see signs of warlordism starting. All right, Africa, there are many places on that continent where warlordism is a way of life. Afghanistan was, and still by some definitions is, warlordism. The Taliban, all right? There are various warlords, and the Taliban finally came in under one umbrella, brought them all together. But in essence, still to this day, depending on where you're at in Afghanistan, one particular warlord controls one particular region. Yes, he may report up the chain of command, which is how warlordism starts to become government, okay? The Taliban blanketing all the warlords, bringing them all under one umbrella, makes them a legitimate government. Not unlike tribes, all right? Tribalism, warlordism, same thing, all right? In essence, if you look at the root, it's the same thing. And that is society's default. That is our factory settings, warlordism. When all SHTF happens, and if society collapses, regardless of whether it's here or another country, when a society collapses, the first thing that happens is there's a short period of chaos. A lot of people would think, oh, well, it's months and maybe a year, 2 years of chaos. No. Nature abhors a vacuum. Chaos only has very short reign of time, okay? Just very short in the grand scheme of things. Very short. Weeks, maybe a month. I'll say a couple months, possibly. But in that time, warlords, plural, because there's going to be, depending on the size of the country that the society collapses in, there could be tens to hundreds of them, especially in a country the size of the United States. If the United States were to fall, you would probably see hundreds of warlords coast to coast, all right? I mean, you look at some place like West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, you could have one warlord per couple counties that ends up taking over. All it is people going back to tribalism. In the tribe, groups of like-minded people getting together, someone always rises to the top, whether it be through violence, good negotiating, good diplomacy skills, whatever. Someone always rises to the top, and that person in essence becomes the warlord. So what happens? What's the circle? First, we start out as tribes. Then those tribes, in a very short period of time, develop and create a warlord. The warlord normally will try to bring in other tribes or expand his tribe's area. These eventually become what we would know as kingdoms in the past. Okay, you look at medieval Europe. All right, you didn't have just England. You had the country, the continent, or the island rather, and you had many different kings, warlords, that controlled different parts. Eventually, those mini kingdoms, those little tribes with their little warlords, came under one king, who was the big dog warlord at that point in time. And then over time, that society starts to not want to be under a king, want to be more democratic. Okay, so then that progresses. The kingdoms start to go away. You start to have democracies and republics, and then those republics grow. And then, like all the times throughout history, they start to incorporate all these other cultures and things into their society, where they were strong when it was their society. And for lack of a better term, the diversity, which everyone will claim strengthens society. Now, diversity can strengthen a society to a point, but once it gets too saturated, oversaturated with diversity, you have competing cultures at some point in time, and that starts to degrade a society. All right, and then the societies end up collapsing, eating themselves, whatever you want to call it, and they default back to tribalism, warlordism. So that's the little circle of life. So I hope you found this video informational, make you think about it, because some people are like, well, I wouldn't follow no warlord. You would. Not all warlords are going to be bad. There are going to be warlords who have constitutional values in this country, and warlords who are malignant, evil, for lack of a better word. You're going to have, there's all different kinds. The warlord is simply the guy at the top that has planned, prepared, and organized, takes care of his people, and has a vision that everybody else agrees with on how their tribe should be going. And warlords come and warlords go. They too are assassinated, deposed, overthrown by rivals. Rivals from outside, rivals from inside. Look at Julius Caesar. Et tu, Brute. But everyone needs to understand that chaos isn't going to just reign amok forever. It's just not going to just run amok forever. Pardon me. But that we will resort back to our factory default of warlordism. And I will continue to bring you information and educational videos as I can to help you prepare for the time, if ever, that we have to hit the factory reset on our society. So until next time, have a good day. God bless. To my baby sharks, Daddy loves you, and I'll see you soon. I'm out. I appreciate all of you being here. All right, hit the thumbs up, down, sideways, like, share, if you feel like it. If you don't, okay. But I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I'm out.